Hello, and welcome back to another show of Watching Washington. It's Friday, October 13th, and I'm Sophia Rivera.
And I'm Cole Sand. Here's a look at some of the big stories of this week. This past weekend, tensions started flaring after a surprise attack in an all-night music festival located in Reem Kibbutz, off the southern tip of Israel. The massacre was led by Gaza militants, Hamas. Videos and personal footage have been circulating throughout the web of the horrific attacks that went on last Saturday, October 7th.
Bloodshed has been ongoing since this past weekend as the main target for warfare has been the Gaza Strip. CNN journalist Jeremy Diamond has the latest on the matter.
Well, listen, this is certainly a situation that is continuing to develop, and we are watching the death toll continue to rise. And what's becoming increasingly clear is that the Israeli government, the Israeli military, is very much treating this conflict with Gaza very differently than any previous conflict. And that is because we saw the Israeli Prime Minister very quickly move to declare war, his National Security Cabinet moving to do exactly that. And earlier yesterday, Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of the country, vowed a total siege of Gaza. No food, no water, no electricity being allowed across the border into Gaza. And the energy minister very quickly following through with a decree actually making good on that. We also heard the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, delivering a primetime address Monday night to the country, saying that this campaign against Hamas has really only just begun, vowing to eliminate the terrorist group. And what he said was, we have only begun to strike at Hamas. He said the images of devastation and destruction from the Hamas strongholds in Gaza are just beginning, a very ominous sign of what is still to come.
The United States have responded to the conflict between Israel and Gaza. President Biden gave a short speech on Tuesday that condemned the actions of Hamas while also showing support for Israel.
We must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. The loss of innocent life is heartbreaking. Like every nation in the world, Israel has the right to respond, indeed has a duty to respond to these vicious attacks. I just got off the phone with a third call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I told him the United States experience what Israel is experiencing, our response will be swift, decisive, and overwhelming.
President Biden also said that the United States is, quote, going to make sure that Israel does not run out of the critical assets to defend its citizens and cities. While President Biden only focuses on Hamas, other U.S. politicians have suggested that Iran is also heavily involved in this conflict. Democratic Representative Dan Goldman stated, quote, there's no question that Iran has played a role because Iran is the primary founder and supporter of Hamas. Goldman did say that it is unsure to what extent that role may be. As to the role of the U.S., that remains up in the air, as President Biden has to decide whether sending weapons and supplies to Israel is sufficient or if U.S. troops would be required to assist the IDF on the ground.
As Israeli troops move towards the border with Gaza before a possible ground invasion to dismantle Hamas, the United Nations Secretary of General Antonio Guterres has this to say.
I've been closely following dramatic events in Israel and Gaza. I will never forget the images of this supercharged cycle of violence and horror. I'm in continuous contact with leaders in the region with an immediate focus on several key priorities. We must avoid spillover of the conflict. I am concerned about the recent exchange of fire along the Blue Line and recent reported attacks from southern Lebanon. I appeal to all parties and those who have an influence over those parties to avoid any further escalation and spillover. I call for the immediate release of all Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Civilians must be protected at all times. International humanitarian law must be respected and upheld. About 220,000 Palestinians are now sheltered in 92 UNRWA facilities across Gaza. UN premises and all hospitals, schools and clinics must never be targeted. UN staff are working around the clock to support the people of Gaza, and I deeply regret that some of my colleagues have already paid the ultimate price. Crucial life-saving supplies, including fuel, food and water, must be allowed into Gaza. We need rapid and unimpeded humanitarian access now. I want to thank Egypt for its constructive engagement to facilitate humanitarian access through the Rafah crossing and to make the Al Arish airport available for critical assistance. There is no time to lose. Every moment counts. Thank you.
After Hamas assailants killed at least 1,200 people in Israel and took an estimated 150 hostages, Israeli authorities have vowed that no humanitarian aid would be allowed into Gaza. Egypt, also bordering Gaza, has not indicated whether it will allow emergency aid shipments into the territory. On Thursday, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry called on countries and agencies to send any aid to Gaza to the Al Arish International Airport near its border crossing with Gaza, without specifying if or when the aid would be allowed in. Officials have said that they are talking to Israel and Egypt about opening the channel for humanitarian aid, but have refrained from taking a hard position on the issue.
Early Saturday morning, hundreds of people were killed and injured when Hamas fighters targeted an Israeli music festival during a surprise attack. People around the world attended the outdoor Nova Festival held near the Gaza-Israel border in celebration of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. Attendees were enjoying the music festival until sirens, rockets, and gunshots were sounded off, leaving everyone running for their lives. And on Tuesday, CNN's Israel affiliate Channel 12 captured the aftermath of the Nova Festival. Among the damage, Hamas gunmen have murdered at least 260 attendees and have taken hundreds as hostages in Gaza as well. Of the remaining survivors, many are still searching for their missing friends and family, some being seen captured in videos shared on social media platforms. As a result, Israel has formally declared war on Hamas and is now fighting to push militants out of the area.
As the Israeli-Hamas war persists on, many Israelis abroad all over the world are desperate to make it home despite the violence. According to the Associated Press, the airports in major cities from Athens all the way to New York City are packed. After the Hamas militants attacked, many Israelis desired to make it home to serve, volunteer, and fight. The war has already claimed at least 2,700 lives on both sides, and the number is only expected to grow. Reserve units have contacted many that are heading home, but some who weren't contacted are going back anyway. One man, Yaakov Suisa, a father of 5 living in Los Angeles, claimed that he wanted to rejoin the reserve unit despite having to leave his family. He said, quote, "I'm ready to fight. What else would I do while my friends are being buried in Israel?" End quote. Other Israeli and non-Israeli youth are determined to make it there to assist family members and to volunteer, but travel has been challenging. Major airlines have been suspending flights in and out of Israel, and hundreds of people are waiting hours to board emergency flights. It is uncertain how long it will take or how many will be able to make it back.
The story of the contention in the Middle East is one that is long and complicated. There's no clear beginning and definitely no end in sight. However, here are a few major events that have shaped the terrain in the Middle East even up to today. In May 1948, Israel declared independence, and from then on, many wars ensued, including in June 1967. The Six-Day War took place, also known as the Arab-Israeli War. Jumping ahead to an event that shapes what we are talking about today, in 2006, Hamas was elected in Gaza. This Palestinian militant group won legislative elections the next year in 2007, leading to political strains with the more moderate Fatah party controlling the West Bank. In December 2008, Israel attacked Gaza, leaving more than 1,000 Palestinians and 13 Israelis killed. In the year 2018, many protests took place in Gaza along the fence in Israel. Israeli troops killed more than 170 protesters over many months. Along with the protesters who perished, at least 7 Palestinian militants and a senior Israeli army officer were killed. In the spring of 2022, a string of terrorist attacks in Israel took place. This event alone cultivated a death toll higher than any other year before. Now to today, October 2023. Israel claims to be at war after Hamas attacks. New events are happening every day, making it more and more unclear where the direction of this war will go. Up next, find out who is suing TikTok this time.
Plus, an update on the House of Representatives' ongoing new House Speaker debate. Stay with us, more Watching Washington next.
At Purdue University, we're not just students, we're future leaders. Join Air Force ROTC to embark on a journey of honor, excellence, and service. Learn, lead, and soar to new heights. It's not just a commitment, it's a calling. Purdue Air Force ROTC, where dreams take flight. Are you ready to rise?
I got a switch in my head. I go from living to dead. You got me seeing all red. Now I'm becoming.
The Center for C-SPAN, which is this organization, the CCSC, what we do is we facilitate like a bunch of organizations, different programs for Brian Lamb, which is the founder of C-SPAN. Anyone can be part of CCSC, whether it be through our various internships, our competitions, just to be involved, even like our student community meetings that we have every week. Anyone can go, you don't have to be communications or poli-sci. You just meet so many people, the connections you make is kind of crazy, the range that CCSC has. So yeah, it's just provided me so many opportunities to like kind of achieve the goals I have personally and forward to like whatever career paths I choose.
Last week, the House voted to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. With the Speaker position empty, House members are eager to find someone to fill the role, and no work can be done until it is filled.
The House met yesterday to vote on a new representative, but no candidate won the majority vote. Republican Majority Leader Steve Scalise announced yesterday he withdrew his name as a candidate after his party failed to unite behind him. All eyes are now on Republican Ohio Representative Jim Jordan. Jordan ran unsuccessfully earlier this week against Scalise for the Republican nomination.
For a new Speaker to be elected, there must be 217 votes. As of right now, there are no frontrunners. The lack of House leadership is even more troubling, with a little more than 5 weeks for Congress to avert a government shutdown. And with rising urgency amid the war between Israel and Hamas, Republican Don Bacon states his opinion on the matter.
I think it's very important. First of all, I condemn the 8 people who did this to our party. We are sitting vacant in a time that there's a need. But we have to get a speaker in position. We need to support Israel right away. And we have a continuing resolution that's going to stop in mid-November. We got to fix this.
It is unclear when the next House vote will take place. Both parties are anxious to appoint a Speaker of the House, so work can be done to aid Israel and govern America.
Congressman George Santos has once again found himself in hot water as a new federal indictment has pinned him with an additional 10 charges pertaining to credit card fraud. The charges state that the New York congressman has been embezzling money from his business, as well as conspiring with his former campaign treasurer to reach campaign goals set by the National Republicans. This conspiracy also came with the bombshell that Santos has been skimming card numbers from his donors, using these funds to personally enrich himself. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Will you? I did not have access to my phone. I have no. Will you resign? I have no clue of what you guys are talking about. No, I will not. Excuse me. You will not resign. Why? You stole people's identities. I will.
Did you give it? This story highlights a deeply unserious attitude prevalent in Congress today, as Congressman Santos moves to vote in our next Speaker of the House this coming week. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index is a measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. The September 2023 CPI was just released yesterday. Let's take a look. On the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website, the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers increased by 0.4%. CNBC states that this was a slightly faster than expected pace in September, and that the shelter costs were a main factor in the inflation increase.
The Supreme Court of the United States is currently hearing a gerrymandering case that could have a big impact on the upcoming presidential election.
The court is currently hearing a case out of South Carolina regarding the Republican-controlled state legislature drawing new congressional maps. The issue at hand is looking at the way the legislature evened out the population between District 1 and District 6. District 1 allegedly had 88,000 votes more than it should have, compared to District 6, which is represented by the state's only black congressman and had too few votes, according to a source from NPR. The case ultimately tests the legal limits of partisan gerrymandering and if it crosses the line with race. Hearing for the case began this past Wednesday, and the conservative court is not likely to rule in favor of the Democrats in this case. During the hearings, multiple conservative justices voiced their doubts about the evidence presented that race was a predominant factor when map makers drew the lines, according to a source from Politico. However, if the court strikes down the South Carolina congressional map, the state could have a new Democratic vote within the House of Representatives for future elections.
On Wednesday, October 11th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to the NATO headquarters in Brussels, where he attended talks with NATO defense ministers. The meeting comes as Ukraine is desperate to obtain more weapons to regain ground from Russian forces before the winter arrives. However, political chaos in Congress has frozen the approval of new funding, and there has been growing opposition among lawmakers to increase spending. Following the talks, a new U.S. aid package was released, which includes missiles intended for a new air missile defense system slated for delivery to Ukraine. In addition, the U.S. is supplying counter-drone systems, electronic warfare equipment, anti-armor systems, and more than 10 million rounds of small rounds ammunition. Two other nations also announced new support for Ukraine. Belgium pledged F-16 fighters along with technical and maintenance assistance by 2025. And the Netherlands promised to make 3 unarmed drones to monitor NATO's eastern flank starting in 2024. As of October 11th, President Biden has officially made it illegal for companies to hide hidden fees or junk fees. According to President Biden, junk fees are those hidden charges that companies sneak into your bill to make you pay more simply because they can. These hidden fees can add up to additional hundreds of dollars that families are required to pay that they were unaware of before, which pulls Americans' families' budgets even tighter. They proposed a deal that would require companies to show the full prices up front, thus reducing the number of surprise junk fees that families are responsible for. This deal would not limit vendors to specific prices. They could charge but be transparent about the actual cost of the good they are selling rather than adding hidden fees once people are already locked in. President Biden states how we want companies competing on price, not their ability to hide prices from customers.
The state of Utah sued TikTok over allegations that the social media company has misled the public about its safety for users. In the lawsuit filed this past Tuesday, Utah's Attorney General accused the social media giant of violating the state's consumer protection law. The complaint alleges TikTok of baiting children into unsafe use through its use of alleged addictive features. The lawsuit also accuses TikTok of failing to sufficiently disclose its links to parent company ByteDance, which is based in China. The platform has come under fire in recent years that its foreign owners represent a national security threat and that its technology is harmful to young people's mental health. TikTok has yet to respond to a request for new comments.
Up next, Sophia and I will be joined by Kevin Sakong to discuss the ongoing conflicts in Israel currently.
The full interview just ahead on Watching Washington.
Imagine a world where Olympics and Paralympics are unified as one, and where all athletes at all levels have equal opportunities to play and perform at their full potential.
Athletics has been such an influential and transformative aspect of my life. So to me, RISE is about ensuring that every person that has the desire to participate in sport has the opportunity to do so.
This organization is about recognition. We believe in recognizing excellence where it is found, especially in Paralympic sports.
RISE is about driving change in our community and beyond. We hope that through our events and initiatives, we can galvanize people for our cause and inspire them to create an ever-growing network to help achieve our mission.
It's about connecting people of various backgrounds and who truly care about creating meaningful change together.
We develop projects and hold events to bring people together at the interface of inclusivity, sports, and engineering.
Our goal is to promote the equality of all sports and to improve sports performance and accessibility.
Join us so that you can have a major contribution in creating meaningful change.
We are energetic, we are motivating, and we are unique.
I don't think you can beat Quidditch.
Hi there, my name is Vikram Jaithlak and I'm the founder and president of the Purdue chapter of the University Blood Initiative. Over the past 2 years, we've been able to collect over 300 pints of blood to be donated to local hospitals, and you can be the next one to help out.
I donate my blood at the University Blood Initiative.
Hi, I just donated blood through the University Blood Initiative.
Hi, I just donated blood through the University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
Right, I donated my blood through the University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
And I donated my blood at University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
With the attack on Israel by militant group Hamas and Israel's declaration of war in response, this week we are asking our anchors about how the situation in the Middle East is impacting college students in the U.S., specifically here at Purdue. I've got Cole and Sophia with me today to discuss the topic of Israel and the Hamas. Thanks for being here, guys. My first question is, how has the ongoing conflict with Israel and Hamas personally affected your lives?
I can go first. Personally, I have a lot of Jewish friends that know people who are in Israel, have visited over the summer for different reasons, and they're really scared for like what's to come. There's also a rise in anti-Semitism across the country, and so many of them are scared to wear their Jewish star out in public, scared to speak out about it because of the hate that they might receive. On the other end of it, I know a lot of Palestinian people who are also frustrated with what is going on. The fact that there has been airstrikes in Gaza as well. They're very fearful for their families that are out there. So both involved parties are really experiencing a lot right now. It's a very scary time. So.
Yeah. As someone with strong ties with Israel, it's always heartbreaking to see anytime a conflict arises over there. And yeah, it's also scary with the response from the world, and like as someone who's Jewish myself, it's like scary to see people making threats online and even on campus and stuff. So yeah.
I know personally for myself that I have a bunch of Jewish friends as well from high school, and for fall break they're going to Vegas this week, and one of the stories that came out for people who are there is there are these girls that go to Binghamton University, and apparently an Uber driver picked them up and asked them if they were Jewish, and they lied and said no, and the Uber driver supposedly said, good, because if you were, I'd kill you.
Yeah.
So that just shows the drastic measures that's going on right now, even further away from the ongoing conflict.
Exactly.
Secondly, do you guys think it's possible to avoid any more bloodshed or to gain de-escalation on the situation?
For me, right now, no. And I mean, we're talking about a 70-plus year conflict, right? And I think as long as Hamas is in charge of Palestine, we can't have de-escalation is not an option. I think the main strategy is to fully subdue Hamas. And we have to remember Hamas and the Palestinian people are not the same group, right?
Absolutely.
So I think the strategy we should look at is subdue Hamas, take them out of the picture, and then de-escalation will be a lot more feasible.
What about you, Sophia?
I don't really know what the best plan for de-escalation is, or if there really is one, but I know that it can't really continue to take sides on the issue and be like, well, this side's wrong, this side caused it, or, well, it's been their fault and since the beginning. It's about coming together as a group, both from Palestine, both from Israel, and understanding that nobody should die, no innocent people should lose their lives as a result of poor leadership. And so I think that is something that we all have to take upon ourselves to personally reflect on is, regardless of how you feel about the matter, you should never justify death at such a high rate and in such a tragic way. So.
Very well said, guys. Do you believe that the media is portraying both sides fairly currently?
Personally, I do not think so, and it's mostly because Israel is an ally of the U.S., so a lot of the media that we are currently seeing is what is happening in Israel to the Israeli people. But I will say, like, in the past, when this did happen to the Palestinian people in Gaza, we did not see the amount of coverage we're getting. We're also seeing a lot of social media, like graphic videos taken from the Hamas leadership of killing innocent people, which we have never seen in the past. I mean, I didn't have social media that long ago, but we definitely are seeing like this increase in the amount that's going online. And so I think that is having a huge impact on how people are taking sides on the issue and like how they're seeing what's going on.
I think it depends on how you want to look at it. I think that there are multiple news sources that are covering the story from both sides. We see reporters in Gaza and as well as reporters in Israel. And so I think that they are trying their best to report fairly. And I think for the most part, they are doing a decent job of that.
All right. And following that, from your guys' experience, do you believe that the general student public here at Purdue University is accurately aware of the current matter?
So we have to look at where Purdue students mainly are getting their news sources, new information from, and that's social media, right? And social media is a place where bias kind of gets thrown out of the picture. And so I have seen some stories or some posts shared that have misleading information and false information as well, and you know, these get circulated around social media via people's stories, reposts, etc. And so I think that Purdue students need to really make sure that they're looking at facts and double check where those sources are coming from to eliminate bias.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is hard to figure out what is truthful, what isn't, but I will say that I think people are taking the time to learn about it, that they know people who are experiencing the problem firsthand, know people who know people, and so they are, I think as a population, more people are becoming educated on it. I think there's a lot of importance in looking at credible sources, because it can be very easy to go somewhere and look something up and take that as what's correct, and sometimes that isn't always the best way to go about it.
Yeah, just to chime in, I think it also is it's a very good thing that so much of the public is aware of the situation that's going on right now for both parties. So anyways, thank you both for the discussion on a tough topic. That's it for this week's edition of Watching Washington. See you next time.